All right, welcome to the Empower Network for the first ever all men's table. This is men's health today. You're looking at, let's see, we got Stewart, we got Mel Kaario, we got Dr. Guy Arad, and we got Asha Power Hope the third. And so we're going to be talking about things related to men's health today. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to let all the guys introduce themselves, talk about who they are, a bit of why they're here. And this is going to be a lot of fun. So let's say, who wants to go first? Do we have any volunteers?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay, Lee, lead us off.
Yeah, so Lee Stewart, as you introduced me, a mindset and training coach, predominantly for men, but I don't discriminate. I do help women as well. Men's health is something that's really important to me because the systems that I operate from, which I then coach as well, is probably saved my life and stopped me from going down or took me off a bad path, not going down a bad path. I was on a bad path, and helped me to correct my life, and the link between the mental and the physical health, I think, is so strong. For example, I'm dreading tomorrow because it's Sunday and it's rest day, and I'm going to be like, I need to do the work, so I'll have to do some burpees or something just to keep the frequency high. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I've been developing online courses, which predominantly for my clients in my program, but also I've developed one that is going to be a free course to help people just to get a foot in the door, and try to find some positives in life and change, if they're in a bad situation, try and improve their life by using fitness and good vibes.
Awesome. Lee, I look forward to hearing more about what you have to share. I know a bit of your story, so this is going to be great. Asha, can you go second, please? Who are you? Where are you in the world? And why is men's health important to you?
Well, I am Asha. I'm originally from Belgium, but I've been living in Bali for the last 3 years. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I specialize into bringing fulfillment and harmony in the life of people. Why is men's health important for me? Well, I was just explaining not long ago that when I grew up as a teenager, I was lacking to have a mentor. I was lacking to have like a positive role model, masculine role models to look up to. And I started with other teenagers doing bullshit, taking drugs and like wandering in the streets and trying to find that strength, trying to find who we are as men. And just literally doing a lot of stupid things, trying to find that inner masculine power. And I feel that the idea of men in the society is so wrong. We talk about toxic masculinity, but I think that what's toxic is the lack of masculinity. And that's where men's health needs to enter. And we need to understand that when men are healthy, when their testosterone is growing well, when the muscle are there, when we're busy doing the things we need to in order to be healthy, men are not toxic, men are positive for society. And that's where I think it's so important that we educate younger men to know why they have these kind of like urges. I don't believe there is like bad teenagers. I think that teenagers need to have guidance on how to harness their masculinity and how to become men.
Asha, thank you. Well said. Thank you for sharing. Looking forward to hearing more of what you have to say. Dr. Guy Arad, would you like to go next?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you so much for having me. It's great, going to be awesome. So my name is Guy, and I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. My accent is Israeli. I'm a former Israeli military, and my background is as a vet surgeon. So mostly a veterinarian. Well, that's kind of the background for 20 years, the last 11 years in business, and last 4.5 is mostly coaching with a manufacturing company. So I help a lot of busy professionals create kind of a stress-free second income online from home. And I believe that as a society, men and women, but men as well, we need to step up our leadership game. And that's what I'm helping a lot of guys, especially busy guys and professionals do these days. I believe we can be way more than we are and everything. We just need guidance, and we need coaching, and we need to understand that leadership is a verb, and this is something that we need to do ourselves before we can, help others. So that's kind of my game, coaching and leadership.
Thank you, Guy. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. Looking forward to what you have to say today too. Mel Kaario, please.
Yeah. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Yeah, my name is Mel, and I have been a coach for about 12 years. Prior to being a coach, I was an entrepreneur and had what appeared from the outside a successful business. My bank account said I was successful. My people would look at my house and say, wow, that guy's successful. I had a nice car. From the outside, everything looked great, but I was, the last few years approaching maybe even in a certain level of burnout, and I knew I needed a change. And from the outside, I looked at a whole hallmarks of a successful entrepreneur, but on the inside, it was, it was stressful, unappealing, and I was just almost, I guess, approaching being miserable. So I decided to become a coach, and for the last 12 years have been coaching mostly men. However, I've found that women are much more open to being coached. I still, lean towards coaching men, but some women just say, come on, Mel, help me out here. So what I do really is I help people discover really what fires them up. And it's, the term values is very, very important to me. So I help people at a very deep level discover what's really important to them. What are their values? And I take them off into their future once they've discovered their values to be able to describe what would an incredible future look like for me based on these things that are most important to me. And I guess I would consider myself to become a bit of a subject matter expert after studying this for many, many years. And studies show that a lot of depression, stress, anxiety in life comes from simply living a life, a career, a business that is misaligned with our values. And if we don't pay attention to it long enough, don't give it the attention it deserves, it can sink into some form of depression. And this is a sad thing because, as a lot of us know, doctors are very, very happy to prescribe antidepressants. And in many cases, it may not be necessary. It may not be biological. Certainly, there is a place for that. But in many cases, it's just because I don't know my values and I'm not experiencing the things that are most important to me in my life, my career, and my business. And my mission is to put a stop to that. Help people live fulfilling, meaningful lives, choose the best business, career, relationships, and experiences. And that is what I do. And I guess I've been doing it for about 12 years now.
Thank you, Mel. Thanks for sharing and being here. Looking forward to what else you got to share for us. So, okay, we're going to go, Asha, what you said. We're going to actually start with that. So let's go back to Lee. Lee, what does healthy masculinity look like to you? And what are the common pitfalls or traps when you deal with clients you see them falling into that stops them from being healthy as a masculine male?
Yeah, I think it's all about the comfort zone, and this is why I'm really fixated on the mindset part of I'm a personal trainer, qualified, but without having the right mindset and without having the right habits, it doesn't matter whether someone's got a training program. they're not going to do it. If they're not
Mhm.
ready, and this is another key thing as well, is ready. Like I talk to many people and I can tell within the first 30 seconds if they're ready.
Mhm.
And I'm not someone that will try to convince someone to, you know, to work with me or to follow my program, because if they're not ready, then again, they're not going to put the application that's required to change their life. And I think the biggest, the comfort thing is, and this is something that I've been really thinking about a lot lately, is the ego. Like a man's ego is what stops him and actually keeps him in a comfort zone, and therefore stops him from being able to be his best version of himself and be the best version of himself for the people around him. As Grant Cardone says, it's my duty and obligation to be successful. And that's something that a lot of people don't know, and they don't know it because they've been, you know, a product of their environment, of how the people they've been around when they've been growing up, and it's learned behaviors, and you know, it's almost having to reteach people, which is now common to me. Actually, today I was just having this conversation with my son, who's 13, coming up to 14, but lives with his mum, and I was having this conversation with him about, you know, not having a victim mentality, not having a mindset of being comfortable. And he made a comment of, oh, I said to him, you need to stop drinking cow's milk because he's getting bloated, and he said, he's like, but I like it, I don't want to. And I said, you need to, if you can't drop drinking cow's milk for 2 weeks, you've got no chance in life. Like, you need discipline. For me, discipline is everything. You know my routine, Amos, and it's non-negotiable. It, you know, it doesn't matter, the variables doesn't matter, it's non-negotiable. And like, you know, I think that when people start to do the work, they start to love themselves again. And going a little bit deeper, I think men hurt other people, you know, women in relationships and stuff like that, because they don't love themselves, because they're not doing the work, because they, you know, they know that they're letting themselves down in a way by not putting the work in to be the best version of themselves.
Thanks, Lee. That was well stated.
May I ask Lee a question?
Yes.
Yeah, Lee, loved what you said around discipline. And you know, like you talk about, you know, you can tell within very short period of time whether someone's ready to do the work. What for men, because as you know, I mentioned, and you just mentioned it too, especially
Yeah.
men have a hard time asking for help. You know,
Yes.
most of them do anyway, generally. What is it that puts a man in a position to raise his hand and say, I need some help, like in terms of what you do for men?
In my opinion, it only comes from being rock bottom. And that doesn't need to be being rock bottom financially, you know, where that term normally comes from. I think it can be being rock bottom with their confidence, you know, perhaps their partner's made a comment or something about, you know, how they look, or like a lot of my clients tend to be people who struggle or coming back from addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs. And I think something just clicks. Like you don't, a lot of people like the idea of I like the idea of getting fitter and, doing this, but then what they don't realize is obviously, it takes, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And to do the work, your pain that you're feeling with your current situation has to outweigh doing the work.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you can still suffer that pain, oh, it's okay, I've got a bit of a belly, but it's not that bad that it's making me feel physically sick about myself when I look in the mirror, or or it's masked with other things, people drinking more, eating more to mask the feelings that they're feeling.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think it comes down to the pain point of, are they in enough pain to invest in themselves?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Like, maybe a visit to the doctor, maybe their spouse saying, like, you need to get it together. You won't be around to play with your grandkids. All of those things. Yeah.
There's many different scenarios. Like I say, a touch on alcohol, because quite a few of my clients who were suffering with drinking too much, and then that starts to affect their relationships with their spouse, with their children. At the weekend don't want to, they're hungover, so they don't want to play with the kids. Or they've got no energy because, again, they're not eating right, and nutrition isn't right. And I mean, I'll just put it out there, I've got the best program in the world when it comes down to results, like physically but also mentally.
Nice.
So I know when I'm talking to someone, like, if they're ready, and I also know if they're right for it, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
We don't want it easy, we want challenge.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey guys, we got to move on. So we got to go to, thanks for sharing, Lee. Thanks for asking, Mel. Asha, to you, what does healthy masculinity look like to you? And what are the common pitfalls or traps that you're experiencing with your clients? What is standing in their way?
Well, healthy masculinity, I think, to make it very simple, it comes to the traits of a leader, to always put others in front. I really like the Chinese elements where they're talking about the water, the metal, the earth, the wood, and the fire, where I feel like a man should have all these elements master. Like the water is the emotions, the fire is the action, the wood is like a tree, like the giving, the metal is also like the strength for the decision making. So I really feel like healthy masculinity is mastering a series of traits that we see into leaders, like talking the last, listening to people, putting others in front, and things like that. That I think is very important. What are the things that make people fall out of that? It's fear. I think fear is the biggest threat to masculinity. I see so that in my own life is with the fear that I wanted to do the things that made me fall out of the cliff. Like when you're surrounded with the right people, I think I'd rather talk about the things that we need to do is to surround yourself with healthy people, with people who want to grow. Surround yourself with people who have positive criticism and encourage you to do more on who you are. Like we all are becoming coach or are coaches because we want to support others. We know that when someone is motivating us to do things, actually, the statistics are saying that it's only 10% of the people who do things by themselves. As a coach, giving away for free all the knowledge we have doesn't hurt our business, because 90% of the people, they need the coach to tell them, hey, do one more push-up. Hey, did you show up today? That's our role. Or the role of the coach isn't so much about bringing information. It's there to be supporting the people and saying, hey, I know how you are, and I know that tomorrow you're gonna break. So today, take a 5-minute break, and tomorrow do 5 more reps. That's what we are here for. We're here to get people to do things. So healthy masculinity comes when you're surrounded with the right people, and that's all. And we need to give space to boys to become teenagers, space to teenagers to become men. I think that naturally we have that in ourselves, but then when we're not allowed to grow the way we want, when the environment is not allowing you to grow the way you need, you're not giving the right fruits. You know, that's all. There is gonna be always trouble coming, and it's gonna be different for each generations. But the best way for us to create a new generation of good men is by giving them the space they need to, when they have anger, to express it. You know, simply, when a man becomes angry, he needs to beat up something, a pillow, or he needs to go chop some wood. You know, like we're talking about these guys who are like chopping wood all the time, all the day. They're like so warm and welcoming. It's because all the anger is going into the axe, you know. So I think that it's giving space to men to become who they need to be.
Thank you, Asha, for sharing. That's interesting because all the anger is going into the axe, so they're warm and inviting. That's a very interesting perspective. We will get to comments. There's a lot of comments. We will get to those comments in a little bit. I'm going to let the guys wrap up this round of question. Guy, what does healthy masculinity look like to you? What are the things you're helping people overcome? What's standing in their way? What are you seeing?
So yeah, I think number one, a lot of men are missing purpose. They don't have real purpose. And I believe a man that is in a meaningful pursuit, but not just meaningful pursuit for like something that is for them, something that is helping enhancing other lives and developing other people around them, is something that is very noble. I believe that a man that is, you know, humble and coachable, you know, and when you, I call it a kind of a notion of a business athlete. So we kind of, number one, we talk a lot about movement and training. Yeah, training like an athlete. It doesn't say that I'm competing in, or they're competing in anything, but also the mindset is thinking like a CEO, right? So this concept of business athlete, I think is really valuable. That's kind of what, you know, you're talking about healthy, you know, men. That's one. And what's the issue? I think a lot of the guys are just not doing enough, and not doing this for long enough to get results, and sometimes not doing it fast enough. So I believe that in order to get ourselves to the next level and stretch our identity, we need to do more and we need to be more. So, you know, a lot of the issues are stemming from belief. And I am a Tony Robbins guy, you know, for 12 years. And this kind of, it's a circle that, you know, we don't, you know, do enough, and we don't get results, and we don't have the belief. So I think the number one issue is belief and identity. And the only way to bust through, and because belief is a muscle, right? Like, you know, it's like biceps, it's a muscle. And when men learn how to grow the belief, things change very quickly and we get permanent results. That's what I believe it, but it's almost creating a new flow. And you can only create a new flow by kind of doing more in a short period of time, and this kind of changing identity. And I think that's a pitfall in a lot of, not just guys, but as you know, kind of society, we fall and we lack the, especially men. So that's kind of my view of that.
Thank you, Guy, for sharing. Interesting perspectives here. Okay, let's go to Mel Kaario. Mel, what do you see is standing in the way? And yeah, how would you like to respond?
Yeah. You know, I see like these three men here I have the privilege of hanging out with. Well, you too, Amos. I mean, the entire package of everything we're talking about here today is just so powerful. And it seems to cover all the bases for great health. So I think a man moves from maybe toxic masculinity or being unhealthy, when he clearly understands who he is and what he wants and what he stands for in life with great clarity, he becomes confident, he becomes impactful in the world, he impacts and overflows into the people and the environments around him. And so in my view, we toss around this word of success. And I think quite frankly, women are a little bit better at this, of being in touch with themselves. Success, what is it? It's the common thing is, and so many men are chasing money, stuff, and status. It's like, that's it. That's the road I'm on. But, a quote that I absolutely love is, the best measure of success is how much you love your life. That is, and if you love your life, you have and experience everything that is most important to you. And, there's a psychologist that I read fairly often. His name is Dr. Stephen Stosny. He's a regular contributor to like Psychology Today. He's been on Oprah, for whatever that's worth, a number of times, lots of books he's read. And I read something he wrote about a year ago in Psychology Today, and he said that whenever our emotions are on the dark side, we're almost always, in every case, either inattentive or unaware of our higher values, the things most important to us. If we're not aware of what they are, or we're inattentive to them, not giving our values the attention that they deserve, we will become stressed, anxious, frustrated. And if we are inattentive to our higher values long enough, it's likely we will sink into some sort of depression. Now that's important. So like, as an example, like adventure is my number one value, right? I've got to have it. And my definition of adventure, and during COVID, when I was told to stay home, my definition of adventure includes eating in funky restaurants where only locals go and other places in the world. And like, I wasn't allowed to go to the airport. And I was feeling it. Like I had days of sitting in my living room feeling heavy on the top of my head, thinking, holy cow, is that depression? And it didn't feel good. Like I'm just like, I make people nauseous because I'm ridiculously positive. And like, but I was feeling it, and so I think if a man truly understands what his values are and what is deeply important to him, and we talk about authenticity, living in alignment with our values. If we get in alignment and we're experiencing everything that's most important to us, but we can't know that unless we know our values, we become confident, maybe even humble, because our ego just kind of gets, it starts to settle down a bit, because we're like, I don't have to just show the world I'm someone I'm not. I know who I am. I'm at peace with this. And stress, frustration begins to go away. And Lee, I'm sure stress, frustration, anxiety, often we go to alcohol, drugs, sex, money, all those things that are truly toxic. But if you discover that, well, actually, those things aren't that important. I mean, we all want to live in abundance. Sure, we do. But when we know what is really important to us and we live that, life gets a whole lot better. And that's what I've got to say about that.
Thanks, Mel. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so Lee, we're going to go back to you I want to ask you a question. So now your answer may be either which way, but why is vulnerability hard for us? If vulnerability is not hard for you, then why is it not hard for you? Because for men, why is vulnerability so hard for us? Letting those walls down.
Well, I think it comes back to the ego, and keeping ourselves safe. And in my situation, I know, like when we spoke before, like I am someone said to me the other day, like, oh, you know, you really do wear your heart on your sleeve. Sometimes you're a bit too honest. And I was like, well, I don't think there's such a thing. Like, like I can only be how I am. And if you don't like that, then that's fine. But that's not my, you know, that's not down to me. And I think being vulnerable, the reason why I've chosen to share my experiences and try and help people from my experiences is because it's not about me. And what I mean by that is I've been there, I've gone through it, I've come past it. So it's not about me. It's about helping people be able to just see one thing that reminds them that they can get past something, or you know, if I can do it, anyone can do it. And when people, I think especially when guys, I don't know too many guys who are very, you know, open and vulnerable, like even friends. It's very kind of, you know, I'd have to try and, you know, get it out of them. And like, you know, are you, you know, I quite often say to people, like, are you okay? You know, not just like, you know, like when you're texting a friend or something. I remember before when I text a friend, it'd just be like, yo, you cool or whatever, but it's like, are you okay? Like, but the meaning of are you okay has a different meaning when it comes from someone, I think, that is open. And that's something that I'm trying to do more with guys that are around me in my life, is just let them know that it is okay to not be okay. And talking about it and, you know, being open is how you get past it.
Thanks for sharing, Lee. Asha, let's go to you. Why is vulnerability hard for men? Now, if you have any secrets, Lee just gave his perspective and what he does. So please share with us around that.
Well, I mean, in general, in society, I think men had this idea that they needed to be like powerful and flawless. So they was just having this idea. I saw this in myself when I'm reaching out for help, and I'm like scared of showing that I'm not as powerful as I would have wanted to be, and I'm scared that this part of me could be used against me. And it has been the case in some situation when I've been manipulated by other people. When I used to be a criminal in my past, and that was a part where you couldn't show any weaknesses because you needed to show yourself more aggressive than the others. So accepting and showing that parts of you would be losing your power, which is kind of like counterintuitive, because in truth, when you start to open yourself, and I rather would say the word opening than vulnerable, because you're vulnerable when you're not open, actually. When you're not admitting your problems, when you're trying to hide your problem, this is the point where someone can touch and hurt you. But when you come and say, hey, I have this addiction, I have this problem, that moment, you're not vulnerable anymore. You're just like, hey, it's okay for me to say it out loud, so I'm not scared of it anymore. So I don't really like the way we use the word vulnerable, because it's before being vulnerable in the way we use it that we are vulnerable. I think we're open at that moment. When we open and we say it's okay to be like that, that's when we create power, because we are choosing that what we perceived as a weakness is something that we're gonna change. So what I want to say to all men who have difficulty doing that is find the people who you trust not to hurt you with that. And if you don't feel like opening and sharing everything, just announce it, like say, hey, I have that kind of subject, I want to talk about it. I would say, oh, I have issues with masturbation, or I have issues with my neighbors, whatever. You just announce the thing and see how people react. And then if you feel comfortable, go to the next step until the moment you're surrounded with 30 men and you're just crying out loud and sharing everything and then feeling good about it. Because we humans, we have a body that has so much wisdom that is in our DNA. We know how to heal. We know how to overcome everything. We just need to allow it to happen. When we shake, when we scream, when we cry, that's the body using what it has to let go of the pain. And I encourage anyone to exert that, to either do like rope jumping, screaming, beating a pillow, whatever they could do to just express these emotions the way that feels the most natural to them, and find the people they find trusting enough to announce what they want to talk about it. And if when they announce that they have a problem, whatever problem it might be their car needs to be fixed or whatever, if they see that the person reacts well to that, just go deeper. And then you will see how much your life is improving, because our power, or first power that we learn as human beings, is our voice. A baby, when it needs something, it screams and then it acts. When we are boys, when we are teenagers, we can act on our own. But when we are deeply weak, the only thing we can do is make noise with our voices. So that is the first layer of power that we have. When we complain about something, when we express our problems vocally, we are resolving 80% of the problem. As they say, 80% of the solution is in the question. So that is the thing I want to say to every man here.
Thank you so much, Asha. You just kind of blew my mind there with that. So vocalizing is clearly important to starting the solution, getting it out on the table. Thank you. All right, Guy, let's go. What is why is vulnerability hard? What's the challenge that you experience with whether yourself or clients? What's the solution there?
Yeah, I think obviously it's challenging, and the more kind of we're into our lives and careers, like in even sometimes 40s and 50s, I call it kind of like I have layers and 20 years of brick and concrete to break. So the more we are attached to our identity, and the more we are actually feeling afraid that we'll be judged. And again, we're going back to this ego. So, if I'm not successful, financially or in my physique, whatever, again, I'm trying to hide it because there is a thought that I'll be judged and everything. And I believe it's exactly the opposite. So the more we open up, I call it even sharing your, excuse my French, Saturday morning, but your shit story. Meaning the more we open up, the more we kind of attract the truth. I believe in seeking and speaking the truth as well. And I think it's very liberating. So really, I think it takes a lot of the stress when men open up and, they share, especially in a safe environment, like, we ask here, and people who are like-minded. I think it's very powerful. So I think that's kind of the fix, is also the environment and being around people that are not going to necessarily judge you. But again, part of the fix, going back to kind of how we started this, is the purpose. So if I have a purpose and a meaningful pursuit in my life, I'm okay that people will, to open up and say, hey, these things is not working. This is why I'm doing this now. And this is where I'm going. So I'm a big believer of stating and speaking the truth, but also when you share, why you want to fix things and what you do in any area of life, I think that's kind of where the solution is. That's kind of even makes sense.
Thank you, Guy. Thanks for saying that. I can understand what you said about when something's going on inside, the temptation is to mask it with build the body, or get more money or whatever the story is there. Let's go to Mel now. Mel, what's your thoughts on that vulnerability? Why is it hard for us to do it? What's the challenge? You're muted, Mel. You're muted.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful question. And I'm true, you know, clearly it's easier for some people than others. And you know, what I've been talking about earlier when I had my moment to speak, you know, was talking about being authentic, understanding your values, you know, and I'm gonna say that some people some men, people in general really, but may not be, vulnerability may not come easily to them because they may at a very high level value their definition of something like, say, safety or security, or maybe something else. And that they may just be very, very private people. And, you know, the world out there is gonna say, but you need to be vulnerable, you need to open up. And it may just really not be, quite frankly, who they are. You know, they may be very, very private people. I know a couple of men that I worked with in the past, and they, you know, I can think of two of them in the last few years that have been told by friends and family, you just like open up, be vulnerable. And they found themselves, when they did, later that evening, they might be lying in bed thinking, why the hell did I do that? I was forced to be vulnerable when I just really don't want to be. And it's just not who everyone is. You know, they're being told that, but you need to be. Well, maybe not. You know, they find their release, and they're in some other way. You know, they may authentically, they may not be. You know, being vulnerable may not be who they are. They may value safety and security. They might have grown up in a home that didn't have a lot of safety and security, and being vulnerable was dangerous. And it has become part of their value system. And they can still be very healthy, fulfilled people, but being vulnerable may not be part of that package. That's what I've got to say about that.
I love it. Thanks for bringing that, you know, the other side of that, because, you know, we haven't even talked about the fact that it's like saying, well, why can't you play soccer? Everybody plays soccer. Everybody should play soccer or football in the UK.
Yeah.
The reality is we're not all wired to play soccer.
No.
Or to public speak.
That's right. That's right. And I'm going to go, thanks for bringing that up. And I'll just finish what I was going to say is that after doing what I've been doing for the last 10 years, I'm going to say that, and this won't be a surprise to people, but every single person on the planet is truly completely unique. We'll have, you, like Lee and I might have the same values, but how those values are defined at a deeper level will be completely unique. And they will be completely unique because none of us have grown up in the same family, the same religion, same culture, same experiences, both the good and the bad. Each and every one of us is completely, utterly unique in this world, because we've all had different experiences who make what we are today. And to try and put us all in the same box, kind of, sort of, you need to do this, you should do this, it doesn't work.
Thanks for sharing, Mel. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to open it up now. There are some comments we can chime in on. I'd like you guys to get your thoughts on, as well as we'll go first with Lee. Is there anything, Lee, that you want to comment, whether it's something someone else said or some kind of summary? Because we're going to just begin to wrap it up, the process of that, in the next 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to hear the different perspective from Mel, that some people are just not, it's just not them to be vulnerable. And I think, like, I always use people as an example. Like, my wife is one of them, is because she's had a nice life, nice family life, nice childhood and stuff like that. So there's not really anything to open up as such. And I think it depends how deep it goes. And one thing that I always base my coaching on is peeling the layers of, you know, like you've got an onion and you're peeling the layers to almost reveal what is seeking the truth, you know, like Guy said, it's seeking the truth, not the surface answer of, you know, I don't have time. It's like, okay, let's seek the truth around that. Like, is it that you don't have time, or is it fear? Most of the time, answers, you know, objections and stuff like that is fears. So yeah, it's really interesting to hear of, like you said, Mel, everyone, you know, is completely unique and has different values. Some people want to be seen, some people don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
Some people want great success for whatever reasons, and some people are happy just being and doing, you know, doing what they do day to day, or being spiritually. So yeah, it's interesting.
Thank you, Lee. Asha, do you have any thoughts on what we've just been talking about? Oh, you're muted, Asha.
I'm very happy to be part of this roundtable. I really feel like we all brought something very different and unique to this discussion, and I'm really excited that I really feel this kind of interview for me. It's the first time. It's like I'm getting a lot of information for myself, and I can give a lot, and I really see that the problem that I lived is something that is very global everywhere on the planet. I mean, I don't exactly remember where everybody's coming from, but it's with the sound of your voice, you were not born in the same place, but we all found the same problems, and we all ended with the same conclusion that we need to solve it. And then by solving it, we also want to share it. So I think this is very beautiful, you know, to see men taking responsibility for what's happening in their lives, but also sharing with other men. And I feel like, you know, this is a very beautiful thread of masculinity, of like finding a problem, solving it, and giving the answers to others, saying, hey, this is a problem I found, and I don't want you to find the same problem. So here is a solution, and apply it if you want it. And yeah, I want to just thank every man that are listening to this to join this round table and listen, and also thank all the speakers here in Amos for doing that, so we can improve the life of every man on the planet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Asha, for saying that. I just want to, Asha, there's something you said I just want to thank you for. I realized there's some things this week I need to speak out just to start the process of, because there's some things I feel afraid of. And, you know, I feel intimidated and afraid by some stuff. So I just want to say thank you for what you said, because I'm going to do that today. Guy, how would you like to respond to, whatever's happened here?
No, I'm just you know, taking notes and everything, you know, this awesome man was sharing here as well. And I think for us, man, really, it's just understanding that the biggest project we will work on is us. And the more we become aware to what's happening from the inside and why it's happening, and, you know, the more we are seeking, let's call it qualified help. You know, it's not just talking to someone that you used to hang up when you were like in high school, because mostly of these people are not qualified, you know, to help you where you are now. And the more we kind of gather and create this community like you're doing here, Amos, and you know, it's the second time you introduced me here, and I'm very grateful for it. And that's the direction, is really being in an environment, because environment will change everything. But yeah, really understanding that we are our biggest project, and we have to own where we are. It's okay, and just create more awareness to what's making us tick and why we're here and where we are going and everything, and then be part of environments like this. So that's kind of my 2 cents. There's a lot, yeah.
Mm.
Thank you, Guy. It's amazing. I heard someone say lately, I don't know who quoted it, but environment always wins. Now, I don't know that environment always wins. There's probably always outliers, but like you said, environment is key. Who we hang out with, what we put in our fridge, like that's environment. Thank you for sharing. Mel, what would you like to respond with?
Yeah, thanks, Amos. You know, I was listening to Guy, you know, express his thoughts on our time together, and you know, and I have enjoyed myself thoroughly here, and I gotta say, you know, as I get ready to go to the gym, that I'm feeling more powerful in this moment than I was an hour ago, and I mean that sincerely. I am feeling like. Yeah, I'm left feeling more powerful than I was an hour ago, like mentally, emotionally, physically. I think I can lift more 10 more pounds than I could maybe at 7:30 this morning, just because I'm feeling more powerful. And it's been truly like a pleasure to hang out with you fellas. And you know, and as Asha said, you know, I think all of us bring something unique and wonderful and beautiful to this discussion. And none of us were in any way contradictory, I think, about what we talked about. And it all just fit together in a beautiful, beautiful package for health for men. So anyway, thanks very much, guys. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you.
Thanks, Mel. And guys, there's some comments here. Please chat. I will tag you all in this roundtable, and please comment back. There's people that asked a couple questions, and respond as you feel led to. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Lead Stewart. Thank you, Mel Kaario. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asha Power, Hope, Love. No, sorry, Asha Power, Love the Third. I love it.
That's a powerful name, that is.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
powerful name. Have a
Super
great
grateful
weekend.
for
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Chat soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for
Thank
watching.
you very
more
much.
power, more power.